This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and get started now. Now, this is just at the beginning of the application when you've actually created your account. What they're going to do is ask you when you are hoping to start at University of California. So for everyone, similar to the common application, what we are doing is indicating fall of 2020. Okay. They want to know what your application level is. Some of you may have already filled out this section. That's okay. So we are looking as freshmen here as well. And then we'll go ahead and start the application. So the application itself is pretty similar to the Common App with regards to what you are actually filling out. They're really not that different. So this one will be a little bit quicker going through this. And then, like I said, I will answer some questions for you guys at the end as well. Okay, so again, kind of general personal information here. They want you to go in and put your name. The question here where they ask you, have you ever been known by another name? That's just the one, again, if you have a different name on your transcripts or any type of official documents that are being sent on your behalf, you do want to tell them what that name is so that they can go ahead and make sure all the correct documents are being linked to the right application once you hit the submit button. All right. General information, date of birth, where you were born, home address. So same thing that I had mentioned before with the Common App. If your parents are divorced, you are putting your home address as the parent whose financial information you are going to be using. Okay. If they're asking if it's where they should send mail, again, some students use a P.O. box instead, and that would be fine if you do want to provide P.O. box. Phone number, text messaging, always checking your emails. Don't rely just on text alerts from the schools. So as a reminder, checking your emails about 3 times a week at least, okay? So they will give you like reminders about specific deadlines. It's just usually not personal specific information that they reach out to you. Now keep in mind deadlines for schools. I know with a lot of the common application, there are different options of applying: early action, early decision, priority for scholarships, regular. When it comes to the UC system, as well as the Cal State system, they just have one specific deadline. That deadline is November 30th, okay? Now, with that being said, when it comes to deadlines, I always like our students to submit applications about 10 days early, okay? So you should be making note of that. 10 days early. So UC's Cal State should be submitted by November 20th. To be honest, once you are done with the webinars, you're going to know everything you need to about filling out the applications. When it comes to the UC system, you can have your applications completed in the month of October, but you just have to know that for submission purposes, they actually don't start accepting applications until November 1st. So even though you have the application done, their submission period falls between November 1st and November 30th. Okay. The reason I do not want you submitting applications last minute is a lot of the sites shut down. Okay. So if you're on there on November 30th submitting your application, the site shuts down and now it's 1 a.m. They are not going to make an exception for you. Okay, they're just not going to accept the application and you've missed the deadline. So please, please, please try to get it in early. So even though you will be getting like text alerts and everything about deadlines or emails from the schools, plan on submitting 10 days early just to kind of keep yourself on track. Okay. Now, what they want to do is They're just here, they're asking if they can share your information with other UC campuses. Obviously, when we're going through the application, we're indicating the different majors that you are applying to and the specific campuses. But I would say I go ahead and authorize them to share your contact information. It's possible that, you know, there's a school that you don't apply to and they can just pass your information on. Okay. Um, Citizenship, social security number. Okay, so again, you always want to put in your social security number for application purposes so that they can link the accounts together. Okay, especially when you are applying for financial aid, that would be through like the FAFSA. You'll notice when I'm going through some of this that I'm just going to be skipping the page because I'm not filling out every single section as we go. Okay. Now, demographics, basic information, you know, do you consider yourself Hispanic or Latino? And then they want to know what your racial background is as well. Okay. And then kind of just general ethnicity and ancestry information that they would like to learn about you as well here. So you'll see that there's a lot of different ones that you can go through. Most applications are going to be very similar with this aspect. Okay. Now, this is newer this year. Applications are starting to give you more options when you are putting down gender and sexual orientation. So obviously when it comes to this, you are just selecting whatever applies to you, okay? They are specifically indicating that it's not considered in the admissions decision at all, but they're using it more for statistics, just to find out more information about their applicants, okay? So background information. So the way that they ask about your language here is a little bit different, okay? So they will ask you, did you learn to speak English only first? Do you have English and another language as well? So, you know, maybe you are Hispanic, for example, and you learned both English and Spanish at the same time. Or if you were possibly born in another country, you didn't learn English, but you had another language that you had learned first. So you would just go ahead and check off whichever applies to you. Okay. When they're asking a little bit about you, they're going to ask if you're married, if you have children, if you've been in foster care, if you are a former member of the military by the time you apply. For all of you, I think it's going to be none of the above apply to me. Okay, but just go ahead and obviously look over what applies to you. And then they do want to know if you're a dependent of a U.S. military veteran or service member. It's just there are different scholarships that are available for that. So whether or not you are, you can indicate that here. Okay, and then for your information, home address, they want to know who you live with. So again, divorced parents, you are indicating that one specific parent that whose financial aid we're using, because that's the only income that we want them to take into account. Okay, so we can indicate one, or if your parents are married, you live with both. Okay, some of you may have like a legal guardian, for example. You can go ahead and indicate that as well. Now, for the income, what they want to do is you are filling this out just kind of based off of your parents' adjusted gross income on their 2018 taxes. So if you don't know what it is, go ahead and ask them. They can just go ahead and give you that line item. So again, it's the adjusted gross income on their 2018 taxes. When you are putting the income in here, this is not you applying for financial aid, okay? They do indicate that it is used for outreach programs or maybe like scholarships or fee waivers. So if it was a really low income family, there would be the opportunity to get a fee waiver when applying to the UCs. The fee waiver that they use for the UC system compared to the common application is very different. Okay. With the Common App, you had the option of like free or reduced priced lunch, fee waivers for ACT, SAT, AP exams. That's not the way they do it here on the UC system. They base it strictly off of what the income is. Okay. And then they just want to know how many people were supported by the income. So that's how many people are actually in your family or claimed on the tax returns. So most of you will not know this off the top of your head. So please just make sure that you do talk to your parents and they would be able to answer that for you. Okay. Okay, so parents' information, they really don't go into much depth the way that they did on the Common application. So they would just like to know here, you know, parents' relationship, if they're living, if they're employed, stay at home, not employed, retired. Okay, so then they're going to go ahead and ask you the job category, job title, number of years at job. You would, if you have one application filled out, like Common App, for example, you'll just be able to plug in this information from the other application and go through that. Okay, they're not going to ask for a lot of extra. Same thing here when it comes to highest level of education. If your parents did community college or they went to college but did not technically get a degree, I want you guys indicating high school graduate. Okay. If they went to school in another country, for example, you're also going to go ahead and indicate a high school graduate, just because you do not have to, you would technically be the first generation in the US to go to school if it was that they attended college in another country. Okay. If you were to indicate on here that your parent did graduate from a four-year college, they are not going to ask you which college they attended, what degree they earned, or the year that they earned that, like the Common application does. So just a little bit less questions on the parent section here. As you scroll down, they're asking about the parent's address being the same as yours. Okay. So if we are listing only one parent on your application for divorce purposes, separation purposes, you will indicate the first parent is the one that has the same address as yours, but you do not have to list a second parent here. Even though they ask for it, you do not have to put it down, okay? So after you complete each section, what they're going to do is they're going to give you a review page so that you can just look it over and make sure that everything that you have filled out is correct. Okay. This will allow us to do this at the end as well, but they do take you through each individual section in order to review it also. So next we continue on to campuses and majors. So the way that it works for the UC system, obviously you can read through this and just mark off that you understand. The way that it works for the UC system is you are simply checking off the different campuses that you are planning on applying to, and then we're choosing the majors. With the Common application, obviously each school's on a different system. They're not all UC and they're not all Cal State. You've got publics, you've got privates, you've got different states, different countries. So in order to add the colleges on here, they do make it a little bit more simple for you. So what we're going to go ahead, let's see. Sorry, give me 1 second. They're going to make me go to that. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me see real quick. Just taking me through these sections real quick. Okay. So Some students are applying to 2 UCs, some are giving it a shot and they want to apply to all UCs. I'm going to indicate for now, let's go ahead and do Berkeley, LA, and Riverside. Okay. Now, even though the UCs are all part of one application, you do pay individually for each campus that you are applying to. Okay, so I've indicated 3 on here. You're going to notice that it does give me an estimated cost at the bottom, which is $210. So some students will apply to, like I said, 1 or 2 or all of them. It's just that's a discussion that you do need to have with your family with regards to application fees. Okay. But now what we're doing here is we're able to go in and actually select the major that you are applying to. Okay. Now, most of the UCs will allow you to pick a primary major as well as an alternate choice. Okay. Berkeley specifically only allows you to select one major. Okay. Sometimes I get questions from students asking me what major they should choose. Okay. If it is easier to get into a major just for purposes of being admitted to a school, or if they should actually pick the major that they want to go into. Okay. The answer varies for students. It really depends on what you want to go into. Okay. The reason that I say that is if a student were interested in applying, they want to become an engineer. Okay. They're going into mechanical engineering as an example. So some students will say, well, rather than applying to the engineering school, what I'm going to do is pick a physics major, which is outside of the engineering school, just within the College of Arts and Sciences, because it's going to be easier for me to get into. Okay. There is the possibility of, yes, it is easier for you to get into, but what you have to consider is that getting into the engineering program later on could still be just as difficult. Okay. And what I mean by that is if you are applying to majors that are impacted or just very selective in general, if you get into Berkeley under a physics major or a chemistry major or something like that, and then you try to transfer in under engineering, what they are going to do is they're going to say, you need to take these 5 or 6 prerequisite courses and you need to maintain a specific GPA, and then we will allow you into the program. So what students don't realize is a lot of times it's a lot harder for a student to maintain a high GPA while they are in college taking physics or engineering type courses than it is to have a higher GPA coming straight out of high school. So that's just something that you need to consider when you're looking at your options for majors. Okay. Some students, I had a student apply to multiple schools and under engineering was accepted to University of Washington. Okay. Not as an engineering major, but just as a major in the College of Arts and Sciences. So what he did was he was taking his courses in his freshman and sophomore year. And then in order to get into the engineering program in his junior year, he needed to have maintained at least a 3.7 college GPA. Okay. By the time he was going into his junior year, applying under engineering, he had a 3.6. He was not able to get into the engineering program at that school. So now it's, well, okay, am I transferring to another school and getting admitted to the engineering program, or am I simply just selecting another major like physics, whereas maybe I can go into engineering into a master's degree later on? Okay, so there is the possibility, yes, you are admitted, but then I just want you guys to be aware that there is no guarantee that you actually get into that program later on unless you are excelling in your undergraduate courses and maintaining the specific GPA that they require. Okay, so with that being said, normally for a school like Berkeley, I like to see the students applying into the specific major that they want to go into. Okay, when it comes to like UCLA and Riverside as an example on here, you can choose your primary major, okay, hoping that you're going to be admitted to that. But then for your alternate major is you could pick something else that is not as competitive. Okay, so what you're doing here is you'll see here that I'm highlighting says if a campus is unable to offer you a place in your primary major, they may consider you for your alternate major. So that's where if you are allowed a first major and a secondary major, your secondary should be within a program that is not as selective if your main goal is to just be admitted to the school. Okay, so something like Berkeley, if you're going to choose your major here, you can go through and we can click on these different options and they're going to give you all the different majors that are offered within, like biology, for example. If you want to look within mathematics, they're going to go through and give you all the different options for mathematics also. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and pick statistics. Okay, if we click save and continue, now what we're going to do, I don't get to pick an alternate, so it's just going to take me to, now I can go to UCLA and select a major as well. So you definitely want to look into your actual majors ahead of time. Okay. Now you'll notice here for UCLA, what they're doing is they're putting statistics and it's considered pre-major status. Okay. What they mean by that, it's similar to what I just discussed, is they put you as a pre-statistics major and they will have you take certain courses and maintain a specific GPA, and then you would be considered for the actual major once you've completed those courses. One of the reasons that they do this is they want to make sure that students that they're allowing into their program are successful in the courses and they're not going to drop out. So that's why at some schools you will see where it says pre-major status, and it's just you're admitted to that until you maintain a GPA and take the necessary courses. Okay. So here I would definitely pick an alternate major. Okay, so what I'm able to do is if you still want to go into like the mathematics, you could see if there are any that don't necessarily require you to go into pre-major status ahead of time, or if it's, well, I'm interested in statistics, but I'm also interested in something like, you know, anthropology, then you can select that as like your alternate major if you wanted to. So it's important to just go through and look at the majors that the school has to offer. Some schools are titled different things as well. I have a lot of students that are interested in business for the UC schools, but not every UC school offered business. So what you might be looking at is something like economics management. Okay, so go through those ahead of time before you're on the application, and you can do a little bit of research as to what the actual majors are that they have to offer. So once we've selected the campuses and the majors, we can move forward. Then we have academic history. Okay. So similar to what some of the schools are going to require on the common application, you do have to put in all of the courses that you have taken and all of the grades that you've received. Now with the UC system, they are only looking at the A through G courses. Okay, the subject requirements. So stuff like PE, you're not going to be putting on here. Your health doesn't count either. Okay, I'll show you the drop down menu and we'll go through that. Sometimes students do have a little bit of trouble when they're entering in the courses because they don't see it in the drop down menu, which means we have to manually enter them in. All right. Now, this particular section on academic history, they're asking about 7th and 8th grade courses. Okay. So for an example, when they ask you, did you take any high school level math courses in 7th or 8th, this could be Algebra 1, for example. A lot of our students do take Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and then they go on to Geometry in 9th, Algebra 2 10th, and so on. So here we can go ahead and indicate, yes, we did take high school level courses. And what they're going to do is they're going to ask you what those specific courses were. So for now, we'll indicate Algebra 1, and then they want to know the term period. So did you take it for a full year in 8th grade? Was it less than a full year, maybe only a semester? Okay. Algebra 1 tends to be the one particular course for 8th grade. And then also language is a common one. We have a lot of students that take Spanish 1 specifically in 8th grade. So if that were the case, then you're going to go ahead and indicate Spanish 1. It was a full year course. It's year 1 language other than English. So the only time you get beyond that is if it were Spanish 2, Spanish 3, AP. Okay. And then your language, you can go ahead and indicate which one it is. So if students had studied abroad, they came from another country, for example, it may not be Spanish, it could be something else. If you are in like an IB school, in middle school, for example, they have you do a lot of language courses. So you would be at a higher level language than most of our typical students here that went to a regular middle school and then went on to high school. International school experience. So they want to know if you did attend school outside of the US from middle school at any point, okay? So they are indicating though that it excludes like high school summer sessions. So maybe you just did a particular summer program, but you didn't actually attend an international school. So most students tend to be no for this particular question. Okay. So now this is where we're going to be putting in our academic history for your high school. So what you guys can do is everybody go ahead and enter in their high school information here. Okay. So most of you, it's going to be you attended in California specifically. We don't have really any specialized curriculum unless you maybe are independent study currently. That's possible. We do have a few students that are doing that, but otherwise you're just going to leave that particular section alone. And we'll search for, I'm using Thousand Oaks High School as an example on here. Okay. So once you enter in your high school information, they are also asking for a specialized curriculum that's associated specifically with the school. Okay. So not everybody has some type of specialized curriculum, but Agora High School, for example, would have the International Baccalaureate program. So if you are part of that, then you would go ahead and indicate IB. Okay, same thing for like Newbury Park High School, Royal High School, you would go ahead and indicate International Baccalaureate. They're not asking specialized curriculum for like AP or anything, okay? They want to know the month and year that you started. So again, it should be August of 16, and you might be graduating in May or June of 20, okay? So when they're asking you what grades did you attend this high school, this is an important section to make sure that you get it correct. The reason I mention that is if you put down that you had attended your high school in 9th grade, but actually put the wrong years, like if you did, okay, 18 to 19, when you put in your grades and I check that for you, if I notice that you've put down the wrong year for a specific grade and I get rid of that, it's going to erase all of the courses and grades that you put in. So just make sure that you are selecting the correct thing, okay? So for 9th grade, it should be 2016 to 2017. You're not indicating 18 to 19 or 19 to 20, okay? Now, they do want to know if you took summer courses after a specific grade. The reason they're asking that is because there's going to be a separate section where you put in a summer grade if that was the case, okay? So some of you do take summer school, others just take it throughout the academic year. So if you guys want to go ahead and take a minute to enter in all of this information, that way we have that available when we start putting in your courses and grades. Okay. So school's grading system, again, you should be A, B, C, D, F. Okay, that's the most common one. There are some schools in other states that go 0 to 100. If it's specifically like an IB school, which would be something like Lila, which is a French school in LA, then they would be doing it on like an international baccalaureate scale, or possibly just your simple A, B, C, D, F as well. So school's term system, again, this is specific to your school, but most of our students here are semester, which is you get a fall grade, you get a spring grade. Okay. Now, we do not count progress reports. So sometimes students are like, well, I have my semester grades, but I have my progress reports. The only thing that they're worrying about is your actual final grade, which would be your semester grades. They want to know if it's the school that you are planning on graduating from. So again, unless you are specifically, you are changing schools, you're going to indicate yes. Okay. And then for degree, diploma, or certificate, most of you are going to be high school diploma. Okay. Some of you may be receiving the IB diploma as well if you're taking the full curriculum at school. I'm going to indicate for purposes of the application high school diploma. They want to know the date that you're going to be receiving it. So again, this is going to be when you're graduating. So May or June of 20. They're going to confirm the information is correct. Now, if you need to add another high school, then we can. So this would be something like if you had changed high schools, you attended a different one in 9th grade, we can indicate that. If you did attend Apex, for example, then we can go ahead and indicate Apex on here also if you took courses through the program. Okay, so now what we're going to do is it's going to take me to the academic history from 9th grade. So here with my 2016-17 academic year, I'm going to start entering in the courses and grades. Okay. So as we scroll down, now what they do is the UC system makes it a little bit easier for you because you're able to check off boxes and then just use a drop-down menu for entering in your grades. Okay. So 9th grade history, some students don't take anything. Okay, that's fine. If you don't, then you're just not simply listing it. I'm going to skip that one for now. But then we have 9th grade English. Okay, the common one for most students is going to be either English 9 CP or English 9 honors. So I'm going to go ahead and check off the box, and then I'm able to indicate the grade right here. Now, the UC system, they do not do plus or minus, okay? So you would just simply indicate the letter grade. As I go down through here, mathematics, we're gonna go ahead and say honors geometry. Now, obviously, if you got straight A's, it's gonna make it easy for you to fill this out. Now for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, this is going to be the same thing. For 12th grade, it's going to be a little different in the way that we answer. Okay. So let's say you get down to a course and you're like, you know what, in the drop-down menu, I don't see my course available. Okay. What you would do in that case is we're going to go ahead and say, click on the box that says I don't see my courses, and then you are going to manually enter in what those courses are. All right, so I'm just going to do this as an example, but what I can go through is, let's say we're going to do a college prep elective course, and I want to do something like let's just say psychology. Okay, so I might say, okay, I took psychology CP, but I don't see it listed anywhere. All right, so I'm manually entering it in as a social science elective. I'm saying that I took psychology CP. For the honors type, what they're indicating is it's going to be HL is honors level, so that's if it's an honors course. You have IB, which is the International Baccalaureate. You have NH, which is non-honors, and then we have AP. So I'm just entering in psychology CP, which is a non-honors course, okay? And then I'm able to enter in my grades right here. So just as a reminder, when you're going through this and entering in your courses, health and PE are not courses that count. The UC schools do not look at it. So you are not going to manually enter in those courses because it doesn't matter, okay? You're only doing your A through G classes. So from here, I can click Save and Continue. And what it's going to do is it's going to confirm all the grades that I've put in for 9th grade. So again, you just want to have your transcripts in front of you. Okay, so when you have your transcripts in front of you on this, obviously it's going to go ahead and they're just going to be able to match up all your grades that you've earned in the classes that you've taken. So as I click continue, it's going to do the same thing, whereas I'm able to go in and I'm able to enter in all of my 10th grade courses. Okay. So I'm just going to continue on and skip this for now because we don't need to manually enter them just yet. And then as I had mentioned, 12th grade courses are going to be a little different, okay? So what they want you to do is for a class that you are currently enrolled in, you are going to be indicating that as in progress, okay? And then for a class that you plan to take in spring semester, you're going to list that as planned, which is the PL, okay? So I'll show you an example of this. So right now what we can say is, okay, we're in AP Government and Politics. Now this is the one similar to Common App, whereas they are split semesters. Every other course should really be in progress and planned together. But for Gov and Econ, the way that we're splitting is I'm going to say it's currently in progress. Now, I am not planning on taking it second semester because it switches to Econ. So I'm going to indicate no for the second semester. So what I'm telling them is I'm currently taking it, but it's not going to be taken in my spring semester. Okay, so that's the way that we would do like your government class. Okay, now if we scroll through and let's just say, okay, we're doing AP Lit, they automatically enter it in as in progress or planned. Same thing for mathematics. I can say, okay, I'm taking AP Calculus plus I'm taking AP Computer Science. With the UC system this year is AP Computer Science is considered to be a math course. In previous years, it was considered to be a college prep elective. So there is a possibility that you guys are taking 2 math courses this year because you are taking computer science. Again, laboratory science, languages, any visual and performing arts. And then for 12th grade college prep electives, the reason I'm showing you this is Econ is not going to be listed under the history section, okay? Econ is going to be listed under college prep electives. So whether you're doing AP or you're doing just like a general CP or an honors, you can indicate that. Now, I am not taking Econ both semesters. First semester, I'm technically taking government, so I'm going to say nothing with Econ is done in the first semester, but I plan to take it second. So that's how you're going to go ahead and enter in your courses for 12th grade. Okay, so technically everything should show up as in progress or planned because again, you don't have any senior year grades just yet. Okay, next we have colleges attended while high school. So again, this is specifically college level courses. Okay, this is not AP. So if you did attend Moore Park or Pierce, we're going to go ahead and go in. We can click on Add College. We're going to indicate that it was in California. I'm just using Moore Park as an example. Okay, so here what they're going to do is they're going to ask us, okay, when did you start? So I'm just going to indicate it as if I took just one summer course this year. So I'm going to say June of 19, and my end date was July of 19. Okay. They want to know grade that you've attended it. So technically, this actually would be going into your senior year because it was summer before. But you did not attend fall, winter, spring. It was only summer. Okay, so that's what we would go ahead and do there. We would go ahead and indicate the, let me just change this real quick. Indicate the A, B, C, D, F, and then they're going to ask you to actually put in the courses that you've taken. Okay, but for now, we're just going to go ahead and delete that. Okay. Your California State Student ID number, so this SSID number, you are not required to put this in, but again, I always recommend you do it. This would be listed on your high school, on your official high school transcripts, okay? If you do not have that, you can ask your counselor for that, but it's not going to be on your unofficial. You normally can't find it on your ARIES program transcripts just because those are unofficial versions of your grades, or like your Student Connect. But what this does is if you go to a public school in California, you're assigned a California SSID number. If you go to a private school, you do not have an SSID number. Okay, so again, it's not required, but I always recommend you fill out as much as possible if you can. Okay, so they have an additional comment section here. This is similar to the Common App one, all right? Now, what you can do is if there's anything specific that you want to let the college know about your academic history, why you may have received certain grades, then you are able to do that here. Okay, so one student had mentioned, like with AP exam, not doing well on those. You can explain that here if you wanted to, that would be fine. Or if you are typically an A student, receive some B's and C's one semester because you are out sick with mono for a month or two, then you can go ahead and give them a reason for that also. Okay. Now, it should never be something like, well, my teacher didn't know how to explain things in class. Okay. I never, ever, ever want a student to put that down on their application. Okay, what you are showing the colleges if you put something like that is you are not able to adapt to different types of learning styles. So you should never blame a grade on a teacher. Okay, if you don't have a reason for receiving a bad grade, it was just simply a difficult course, then you leave it as it is and you don't even mention anything. But don't ever blame it on the teacher. It actually looks worse on you. Okay. So again, just a review section. Once you've entered in all of your information, they'll do that for each one. And now we're going to continue to test scores. Okay, so what they do here is they're going to ask you if you have taken or if you plan to take the ACT or SAT. So what we'd be able to do is indicate what your actual test scores are. Okay, so for the UC system, they require you to have the essay completed, which is the reason why I say anytime you take the exam, whether it's your second, third, or fourth time, you have to have the essay done. Okay. Now on here, we can go ahead and add the test information. So I'm indicating that it's either I've done it already or I plan to take it. The way that it works for the testing section on the UC system is they would like to know what your scores are, but it's from a single test date. Okay, they do not have you enter it in like the common application where you give your highest score over multiple tests. You are only putting in your one single highest test score, which on here you're looking at obviously your composite being the highest, even though maybe in another exam you had certain sections that were higher, you're indicating your score that has the highest composite here. Okay, so you should be putting in like your ACT ID number. Now that is not your logon username for the ACT account. If you go onto your account and you actually log into their system, it will provide you with an ACT ID number, but it's not your username that you are using to log in. Okay, so keep that in mind. Again, it's just a way for them to link the official score reports to your application. Okay, so that would be on the ACT, all right? And then we have the SAT with essay. So same thing here. When you've completed it, they're going to ask you what your scores were, and it is from a single test date. It's not multiple, okay? If you plan on retaking the test, we can say yes. They want to know when you plan on retaking it. So again, that's just so that they can be prepared with any scores that need to come in, okay? Technically on the UC website, they will state we accept December test, but at the same time, they state there is no guarantee that we will receive your December test scores by the time we make our admissions decision. So if that is the case, to me, December is too late. You should not be waiting to take your final exam in December. If you are thinking of retaking the SAT again, obviously there's the October 5th, but November 2nd should be the very last time that you are taking the SAT for any school. Okay. Do not wait until December. It says they might accept it, but then it says they also don't guarantee it. I wouldn't even take a chance. Okay. Next, we have subject test. Okay, so here we're able to indicate what the subject tests are that you have taken, along with any grades that you had earned for those. Okay. So as a reminder, I don't want you reporting anything that is below a 650. Okay. So you would just manually enter in your test scores here. Next, we have AP exams. Okay. So similar to the Common App, what you're going to be doing is you're indicating that you have completed the exams. Okay, so let's just say we have May of 2019. You took calculus and received a 5. Okay. What they're allowing you to do is add multiple AP exams. So you'll be reporting all AP exams with a 3 or higher, and then you would also include any AP exams that you are planning to take at the end of your senior year, which would be May. So again, that question comes up. I'm not sure if I'm going to take the AP exam. Should I just say I'm going to? Yes, for now you should. Okay. Any IB exams, if you are taking those planned or completed, then you can. Now the TOEFL exam, this is for students that are coming from other countries, and it's a English placement exam. So everybody should be indicating no to this because you go to high school here in California or in the US. You shouldn't have any international exams to report either. So that would be the main academic section. Okay, so now this is going to be where we are listing your different activities. Okay, so the way that they ask you about activities varies a little bit from the common application. You actually have the opportunity to list a little bit more. Okay. So what they would have here is they have specific activities or awards and a drop-down menu, and you would select that here. Okay. Now you'll see here that we can go ahead and do award or honor. That doesn't have to specifically be academic, okay? You could indicate MVP if you'd like to. That would be fine. educational preparation program, that would be something like if you're doing maybe like a Princeton review course, you'd be able to put that on there. Okay. Extracurricular activities, that could be sports, music, clubs at school. Okay. Other coursework, those could be summer programs that you had specifically done, maybe like an NSLC program or an Economics for Leaders program. And then you would have your volunteer and community service and work experience. So work experience is specifically like paid work, like you have a job. Okay. But I will go through and show you as an extracurricular activity. So here we'll just list varsity soccer. Okay. What did you do? So here, think about your experience, what you accomplished and learned. We'd also like to know if you've held a leadership role, which can mean more than just a title. It can mean being a mentor to others, acting as a point person in charge of a specific task, or taking a lead role in organizing an event or project. Okay. So what's nice this year with the UC system is they actually allow you a lot more room to put in a description of what you did for that particular activity. Last year and previous years, it was very similar to the Common application where you were limited to about 100 characters. So you'll see here they are allowing you about 500 characters for you to go ahead and put in your description here. Okay, so you'll go ahead and just enter in that information, and obviously for the students that are working with us, we'll be able to review it for you and make sure that you are putting in the correct information. Now, when did you participate in this activity? Very similar to the Common application, you're going to indicate 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. It could also be after 12th, but as of right now, none of you have graduated high school, so you technically wouldn't be indicating after 12th at this point. Okay, and then for the activity, how many hours did you spend per week, and then how many weeks spent per year. So you guys are really just pulling information from both your Common App and your UC application to fill out this activity section. With that being said, though, you are allowed to put in a little bit more detail on the UC app than you are on the Common App, which you should put in as much detail as possible. So you would be expanding that a little bit more from your Common application activities. Okay. So they will allow you to list all of those activities here. Okay. Now, what they're doing is with the activities, they're indicating here that they're looking for quality, not quantity. So it says, even though you have room to tell us about 20 activities and awards, it doesn't mean everybody's going to have that. Okay. The way that they break this up too is within activities and awards. So like educational prep programs, for example, they'll give you like 5 slots for that. Most students don't have 5 slots for the educational preparation programs. They may have done one thing, they may have not done anything for that. So the primary focus that students are really looking at for here when they're listing the activities is going to be extracurricular activities, volunteer work, honors and awards, and work experience. Okay, those are the most common ones. So next, they would just have you review everything again, okay? And then this would be different scholarships that you could possibly be eligible for, okay? To be totally honest, I have never seen any of our students that fill this out receive these scholarships, okay? They're not school specific scholarships, like only to like Berkeley or only to LA, but what you're doing is they will like pass on your information to different like alumni charities or alumni organizations, for example, and there could be certain scholarships that you are eligible for based off of what you put down for like your major of interest, affiliation that you have with certain groups. So there could be things that just don't apply to anybody on here, or maybe you have 5 or 6 things. I would go through and read everything, but as I'd said, there's, really the likelihood of getting a scholarship. I have not seen any of our students over the years receive scholarships from this, but it doesn't hurt to just fill it out and go through it and look at it. There's a lot of options you could go through. Okay. EOP, you're going to see the Educational Opportunity Program. Okay, this is going to be for like low-income families, okay, or educationally disadvantaged backgrounds. Most of our students don't. This doesn't apply to you, but it's possible. So if you want to ask us whether or not you should be checking off EOP, we'd be happy to look at your information and let you know. Okay. General view, and then it comes to the personal insight questions. Okay, so we have you guys all working on this right now. The way that this works for the personal insight questions is what you are going to do is check off the specific questions you are going to be answering. So again, there's 8 and you pick 4. Okay. But you would go ahead and say, okay, I'm answering the question on the academic subject that inspires you, and you simply copy and paste it into the document or into the box here. Okay. They are going to limit you. It has to be 350 words or less. If you're at 355 words, it's going to mark it off in red and you can't not submit it. So you just need to make sure that you are within the word limit here. Okay. They don't give you a minimum. But we've talked to you guys about that. You should be at least around 300 words. 350 words is the max. We want to make sure you are going into as much depth as possible when answering these questions. So you should never be answering it in about 100 or 150 words. Okay. Additional comment section here. Okay. So on the UC app, there are 2 different special circumstances or additional information sections. The one I had gone over with you briefly before was strictly academic based. Okay, that was why did you receive certain grades? Okay, this one here is going to be something that could be more personal that you would want to talk about. If you do have like a serious learning disability, for example, that could be something that you wanted to talk about here. If there's special family circumstances that apply to you, let's say there was a death of a parent and now you take more responsibility with siblings, that limits you with what extracurricular activities you can participate in. Like that would be something where you could explain, I have a lot of family duties which don't allow me a lot of time extracurricular wise, and that's why you will notice that I don't have much with sports or volunteer work or clubs at school. So again, not everybody has additional information that they would need to put here. If you are thinking about writing something, just let me know. I'll read it over. I'll let you know if it should be included. But this particular one is more for personal circumstances, where the one earlier in the UC application is more for academic reasons. It's not a separate essay. This is not your chance to throw in a 5th prompt from what the personal insight questions are. Okay. So now once you've gone through that, what we're able to do is it's going to go through each individual section. We could expand them, and it's going to show you what you've filled out for the entire UC application. Okay, so like I said, you review each section individually, but at the very end, they're going to go through it and you can look through it and confirm everything is correct. Okay, so once you get to the end here, what you're going to be doing is you do go ahead and you can click on start submission once everything's completed, and then they're going to prompt you to enter in your or payment information, which would be like your credit card, and then you submit to the schools. So with the UC application, you submit all UC schools that you are applying to at one time. You do not do them individually. So you would have that one lump sum. Like I told you earlier, it was like $210 for 3 schools. Whereas for the common application, you could submit each school individually. But the way you add colleges on the applications are a little bit different. Okay. So you'll notice that in general, Common App and UC are pretty similar. They ask the same information. Okay. So after these webinars, you guys can go through and start filling out the applications. And then before you actually hit the submit button, we will be reviewing them for you. Okay.